Diary entry number one. Nah, I'm kidding. Just, I wanted to talk about, guess maybe some things that I've realized, or some things that I've forgot, and I've once again relearned. Not really relearned. So it's kind of like going back to my childhood, uh, my childhood, my younger self. That's kind of what it feels like rediscovering or reconnecting with myself. It was always, so it's kind of like air. It was there all along. It's just I forgot it. I took it for granted. So one thing I was really thinking about was I've been reconnecting with my humanity a lot more. What I mean is, um, you know, when I was younger, of course, everybody pooped, right? As a baby, everybody poops, everybody pees in their diapers, right? It's almost like you're a pure being, right? There's no ulterior motive, right? But as time goes on, you start developing the ego, right? Your identity, your personality, and then it becomes like a sort of like, now you see me, now you don't. Like you do, but you basically do like hide and seek with yourself. That's what your ego is, right? It's like hiding and seeking with yourself. And um, I had a kind of like sort of, what would I call it? Self-awareness, hyper-awareness. Basically, I wanted to not be human, right? I wanted to transcend my humanity, right? So to say, right? All this stuff on like the physical, biological, physiological level, it seems so gross. It seems so like gross versus subtle, right? It seems so primal, right? For example, pooping, right? Everybody poops, right? But it seems so, right? If we're supposed to be divine, right, or like spiritual, whatever, right? It seems so. It seems so. What would I call it? Raw, right? To poop, right? To pee, to come, to fart, right? To burp, right? Whatever, right? All these like bodily functions, we all do it, right? So I fart, I pee, I poop, I come, right? But it's just we don't really talk about it. As kids, we make fun of it, right? We make poop jokes, fart jokes all the time, right? It's as old as humanity itself. But I've been coming like a full circle, right? As a child, right, it was totally fine, right? And then as my ego got into it, right, as my personality developed, I started like dissociating, like distancing myself from that, right? But now I've come like full circle, right? Like to embrace my humanity, right? Embrace that I poop, that I pee, that I get constipated, right? That I diarrhea, right? That I fart, that I watch porn, right? That I masturbate, that I burp, right? Right? All these things, right? Like embracing, right? My greed, my lust, my sloth, right? My envy. Embracing doesn't mean that I give it any credit, right? That's not the same thing. It's not that I. It's not really that I like. If I'm angry, right? It's not that I like shout at somebody, right? That's the feeling, right? I feel it like in my, like if I get really angry, like I can literally feel my like face getting tense, right? But it's not really like a, it's not really doing the action so far as just acknowledging, right? Just feeling, right? Just observing what's actually happening to me. um, Embracing my humanity, right? Embracing the the whole totality of it, right? Uh, it made me realize the richness of life, right? Without, right? I try to think of the opposite. I always try to think of the opposite, right? What if I didn't fart? What if I didn't pee? What if I didn't sleep? What if I didn't poop, right? What if I didn't breathe, right? What if my heart didn't beat? All these things that seem like they're fluctuations, right? Like they're imperfect, right? Impermanence. They're actually what makes me alive, right? And like if I didn't do any of the, like, if I didn't have a heartbeat, if I didn't breathe, if I didn't poop, if I didn't fart, if I didn't do any of these things, that's actually like creepy, right? That's way creepier than like, I don't know, all these bodily functions, right? Because that would make me like a robot. It's like this reminds me I'm alive, right? My anger, my joy, my pain, my frustration, my excitement, my nervousness, all these like my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings, my bodily functions. It reminds me I'm alive, right? I'm alive, like I'm here. So that's kind of what I've been experiencing of being human. Another thing I've been thinking about related tangentially is purity, right? How pure, innocent, uncorrupted, what's the best way to put it? It's kind of like what Jesus is quoted, right? To be in the world, but not of the world, right? Where you're in, right? You're in this like chaotic, dirty, messy, sometimes filthy, sometimes disgusting world, right? To be totally, fully engaged with the world, and yet to be totally spotless, right? Kind of like a mirror, right? You reflect what the world shows back to you, right? The world is a reflection of yourself, and you're a reflection of the world. And this just comes back to like embracing like the full scope, right? The full color of humanity, right? From the most vile, reprehensible actions, right? Like genocides, suicides, serial killers, mass murderers, right? Torture, right? Rape, right? Just slavery, right? All these things, right? The most disgusting things about humanity, right? The most disgusting things about humanity, right? And to see that, and to also see, right, our truly divine nature, right? To be in a concentration camp, right? To be in horrible conditions, and to still retain your humanity, right? Your heart, right? Your compassion for fellow human beings, right? Like to see that full spectrum, right? To see the full color of humanity, the spectrum of humanity, and to embrace it all, right? To embrace the worst and the best, because the whole spectrum is what creates the vividness of life, right? If there's no sadness, there can't be any happiness, right? If there's no anger, there can't be any forgiveness, right? If there's no war, there can't be peace, right? They have to go together. They must go together. So like I've been getting into that kind of embracing the opposites, right? Because the opposites are really one. They're just one. As a human being, my heart hurts when I don't watch a lot of news, right? But when I see somebody die, right, a tragic accident, right, right, my heart hurts as a human being. And yet, I guess my divine self, right, within my heart of hearts, I know that it's the way it must be, right? Everything is the way it must be, because this is the richness of life, right? The sadness and the joy, the the peace and the war, the pain and the pleasure, right? This is the whole richness of life. I really feel that sensation when I go running, for example. When I start a run, I don't usually feel, I don't really want to go on a run, feeling a little lazy, right? So it's like painful, but then like once I get into it, right, it's pleasure. It's like, wow, I feel good, right? I feel alive, right? Like blood is coursing through my veins. Right? I feel the air entering my lungs. I'm alive. And and then as time goes on, I get tired, right? And it gets painful, right? It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I gotta stop, right? And then going up a hill, oh my god, right? It's painful. But then like when I crest the hill, right, and then I reach the top, it's like, oh, right, and then it's pleasure again. So it's really like the roller coaster, right? The up and the down, the up and the down, the up and the down, right? The wave of life. So embracing my humanity, experiencing the richness, the full color of life. And then one more thing I've been thinking about. So, just going back to like the purity, right? Like how this world is corrupted. Well, when I really thought about it, for example, babies, babies, fart, they throw a temper tantrum, right? They cry, they poop, they, right, barf, right? All these things, right? But people don't really blame babies, right? Because they're babies, right? But when I really thought about it, adults are exactly the same too, right? Adults are just big babies. Goo goo gaga. Yeah. And I mean that in the most like compassionate way possible, right? I'm just as much of a big baby as everybody else. Like, it's all a natural instinct, it's all a natural process. Right? Just like a baby, right, cries when it's hungry, right, or when it wants to poop. So too adults, right? Adults are more complicated, so to say, but adults are exactly the same too, right? Whenever something happens, right, maybe we get mad, maybe we get sad, maybe we get glad. Even our thought process, right? Where do our thoughts come from? Well, they are a part of that natural process, right? Like, when I stay up for 16 hours, I start getting sleepy, right? When I haven't drank water in 10 hours, I get thirsty, right? Even our thoughts are part of that natural process, right? So when I start incorporating thoughts as just another physiological thing, right? Like my heartbeat, right? I don't really blame my heartbeat, right? So why should I blame my thoughts, right? My thoughts are exactly the same, right? There's no distinction between thoughts, physiology, and the whole process. So there's nothing to blame, right? There's nobody to blame. There's no person to blame, and and you don't even blame yourself, right? Because there's nobody to blame. It's a very freeing experience, right? It seems like there's no free will in that equation, but actually, that's where our freedom lies, right? Our freedom lies in acknowledging or in experiencing, appreciating the process of our thoughts, right? Of seeing them as just another physiological thing, right? as another process. That's the most freeing feeling in the world, right? Because for most people, thoughts are like their thoughts become like a prison almost, right? Thoughts can either free you or they can become your prison. I think there was like an analogy, right? A castle can protect you, or a castle can become your prison, right? It can become the fanciest prison in the world. Yeah, so it's a very, very freeing feeling. Do I want to be free, or do I want to be right? That's the question I ask. And then one more thing I've been kind of like feeling out, one that I've been reflecting on, is the motivation, right? Why am I doing something, right? It's a good exercise for me to like reflect on why I'm doing something, right? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that, right? Why am I doing this? Right? Why am I eating? Right? Why am I writing a book? Why am I recording this video right now, right? My motivation right now, it's mostly to organize my thoughts. It's to organize, it's much easier to organize something like once I verbalize or when I write it down, right? Because in my mind, it's just all like, it's all chaos, right? It's cluttered. But when it comes to motivation, right, or reason, right, the purpose of why you are doing something, at first I felt like, you need to have a reason to do everything, right? A reason to do this, a reason to do that, right? But then it kind of dawned on me that's the most disingenuous way to live life, right? Because life is it's spontaneous, right? It's a hallelujah. What I mean is, when you do something to get something out of it, right? When you go to, so like for example, if I like going to anime conventions, right? If I go to anime conventions to like improve myself, right? To build a network, right? All these things, that's fine, right? I think those are very human motivations, right? Or to have fun, right? But if I go there for a reason, right? That's to get something out of it, right? That's being a parasite, right? That's being a vulture. You're trying to get something out of it, right? And that's the most disingenuous way to live life, right? You're always like, and you want to take something, right? Right? I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that, right? That kind of feeling, right? Like a you never have enough kind of feeling. So this is what I've been thinking about, the conundrum. On the one hand, I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to not do. Life is too precious to waste it, right? To do quote unquote nothing with it. It's too precious. I don't want to waste my life. On the other hand, all this stuff about self-actualization, self-improvement, right? All this is just hocus pocus, right? It's a bunch of noise. With good intention, right? It's with good intention, but it's always one step short, right? Always one step short. What do I mean? Right? Self-improvement, right? The whole point of life isn't to improve, right? That's not the point of life, right? The point of life is to live, right? That's the whole point of life, right? So you're always chasing the next step, right? You're always right? It's like an addict, right? You're always chasing the next high. Right, and that's a very human thing too, right? It's very human to be lazy, and it's very human to be to want to become better, right? That's very human. Both are very human things, right? But both are sort of they lead to destruction, right? They lead to you're deluding yourself, right? It's a self-delusion. How do you work out the harmony of being and becoming, right? Being human, right? Being now, right? Of living life now in the present, and also working towards the future, right? Of becoming. How do you blend? How do you align being and becoming, right? The present and the future and the past. How do you do it, right? That's what I've been really thinking about, and thus far the best not really answer, right? Because this isn't really it's not really a question, right? Questions have answers, right? But life is not a question, right? It doesn't really have answers, right? Life is living life. But the best guideline that I've been able to come up with is really enjoying the process, right? Of being and becoming, right? Of falling in love with the process. Going back to my running, right? Of enjoying every step, right? Of enjoying running itself, right? And therefore, I also become better at running, right? Because I enjoy running, I run, and because I run, I become better at running, right? Therefore, right, it's being and becoming, right? I enjoy the process of improving, right? So you can be both being and becoming, right? You can appreciate, you can honor the present and the future, right? Of aligning them. That's the best answer that I've thus far come up with. And life is, there's so many nuances, so many pitfalls, so many traps, right? I guess that's like the elegance of life, right? It seems so cruel, right? Life seems so cruel. Like people have the ability to be and to become, right? People have the ability to be fully in the present and to become divine, right? But they seem like they're at odds with one another, right? And at first it seems so cruel, right? To give mortal humans the dream of becoming an immortal god, right? That seems so cruel, right? It's like Sisyphus, right? Like you're forcing people to roll the boulder up an impossible hill, right, over and over, right? It seems so cruel, right? But when I flipped it on its head, it made me realize there's a possibility to be both human and divine, right? To have my humanity, right? To appreciate, to be fully human, right? With all the grossities, with all its earthly nature, right? And to be divine, right? Truly divine as well. It kind of made me realize that there's a possibility to have both, right? To be fully human, and to be fully divine. And that's pretty amazing.